Level up your hunting game and join the cause. Help preserve small-town Texas hunting culture and become a more successful hunter by learning the best ways to squeeze the most out of your budget and precious time out in the field. Welcome to the Feed Bandit Podcast. Here are your resident bandits, Richard Kinchlow and Jimmy Byrne. All right, howdy folks. Welcome back to the Feed Bandit Podcast. Been a long damn while. But we're back, I guess. If
we're back.
If you're paying attention, it's been 4 months.
Yeah.
Right at 4 months now since our last podcast. We didn't fall off the face of the planet, although at times it felt like it, I'm sure.
Yes. Well, yes, we have a valid excuse. If you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you've probably heard me vocally about my wife and moving and all that kind of stuff. Well, guess what? It finally happened. And good for me. We bought the very top of the market, so I absolutely took that one up the tailpipe. And I kid you not, I mean, like the ink wasn't even dry. In the market. It went down substantially, So, but hey, that's okay. Whatever.
Well, okay. So you could look at it that way, or you could look at it like well, I don't know how you paid it, but if someone bought a house at that time,
right,
they'd probably at least lock in the lowest rate they would get.
Right.
Now, it's a trade-off. You pay the most, but a low rate, or you pay a little less at a slightly higher rate.
Oh yeah.
But I will say, you are recording from a very nice office now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You like that? Yeah. My Feed Bandit recording studio, which doesn't really give a lot of revenue, a hint, is definitely nicer. The actually internet works. We don't have to pretend like we're actually hearing each other as we've had to do in the past. So it's all good. The great thing is that the timing worked out actually pretty well. So we made the huge mistake. I mean, committed to the house Memorial Day weekend. And then, after my wife pulled out the bamboo shoots and hot irons from underneath my fingernails, and I managed to sign all the paperwork, and I've never taken so much baby aspirin in my entire life. And those little paddles, they go, those things. After I survived all that, here we are. Now I look like a skunk. I've got definitely some white stripes in my hair, but
you do.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You like that? Yeah. It was somebody the other day. Oh, it was a guy I work with. It was the other day. It was in March. He's like, "Oh my God, Richard, I didn't think you had that much gray hair." I'm like, "Oh, hey, good. Nice to see you too, pal. I didn't think you were that short." Yeah. Hey, you want to start talking about physical stuff here, pal? But anyway, no, we got moved, and we're in a nice house. It's close to the girls' school, and we've got to live on the golf course, which is kind of cool.
Can they walk to school?
Sure you could. Yeah, no, you definitely could, but I'd be
or ride their bikes or something.
They could ride their bike. They'd have to go over a major street, which mama won't allow that, but. We're like quarter mile from the girls' school, which is really cool because we're pretty much committed to that. But what's really great, it's kind of interesting, is I've got along this golf course, we have a tank that's about 100 yards behind our house, and I am going to start fishing it, which is going to be a lot of fun.
I thought you said you're going to hunt ducks on it.
Well, okay, that's what I was getting at, because it's actually full of ducks. I mean, the thing is full of ducks, and that
put that silencer on your shotgun.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah, that'd be a good way to start the season. Get my money's worth on my $29 duck stamp. I found that out this season. Actually, I think that's what it was last year. Anyway, we got that done, and so finally, I think we're at a point where you can start focusing on the fun stuff, which is this. And just kind of getting back to some sort of normality. Extremely poor, of course. But we don't have to have money to do this and to talk about hunting and fishing. So that's a good thing.
Who's not house rich and every other asset poor these days?
Oh, absolutely.
But you said getting back to the fun, good segue.
Yeah.
This is we're recording this on the last day of August.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So what does that mean?
Yeah. Oh my God. My God. A lot of kids are they get excited by Christmas. Christmas Eve, they're just nanners. Christmas Day, they're even more nanners. Well, for many millions, yeah, I'd say millions. Texans. Tomorrow is the it is all built up to this: the long, hot, miserable, dry summer. The lack of hunting and doing this all is over tomorrow. It is the opening day of the Texas dove season, which is, of course, just a real big date for a lot of people putting on their calendar. And it's funny. A lot of people say, I've heard this over the years, and I swear to you, it's never happened to me. Now, granted, I have not hunted a lot of opening days because I have to work. But everybody's like, it's raining. It's going to rain on opening day. Well, normally I'm like, I don't remember that. But again, I hadn't hunted a lot of opening days. Well, guess what? Tomorrow, as I was telling my co-host earlier, we're going to need a damn canoe. I have an opportunity to go out north of Dallas, well north of Dallas. I think we're going to go. I'm bringing my gear, but I think it's going to be muddier than hell. But hey, it'd be better than sitting in the office or sitting at home. That's for sure.
Yeah, totally. No, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm still trying to look around. I know there's some public kind of areas around here to shoot. So I don't know. Maybe next week I'll look into that a little more down here.
Oh, you should, man. The white wing action. Yeah, that's awesome. That's interesting.
It started finally raining here about a little bit last week, and today we got a good shower. We've had nothing like what's been up in the north.
Yeah.
It's funny, I can actually say that now. You live in the north.
It's been crazy. And you would talk about rain in Texas. The panhandles had quite a bit. Huh. There's been a lot of times where the panhandle was especially north of Lubbock. Of course, as our good buddy says, the Lubbock bubble. It's got the rain all around it except for in Lubbock. But the rain
the opposite is here. That's the New Braunfels, but what it is, it's like the donut. So New Braunfels gets it, but everything around it doesn't get anything. Right. So since we're outside of the actual city limits where the rain stops, we've had basically nothing. It knows where the city limits are.
Right. Well, it's funny because it's not funny. It kind of sucks, but Liberty Hill got they had a storm yesterday before that was 2 inches of rain per minute or something. Or no, wait, was it 2 inches per an hour? I don't know what it was, but it was pretty incredible. The city of Belton flooded. I mean, it's freaking nuts. Point being, when we dove hunt in Texas, we did dove hunt anywhere really. You're looking for a couple of places with water and food. And so, of course, here we are in May. And I'm like, okay, we didn't get any of those April showers, and we sure didn't get any of those May showers. Then June pissed me off. Yeah. July was a freaking nightmare. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God. Well, and it was really funny because I know I gave you hell about it, but you've always been like, it's coming. The 5-year drought's coming. And? Well, guess what? It's coming, and it hit us, and it was awful. It was awful that all over the state. Of course, it's just been really, really terrible. Rancho Bandito, and we can get into the whole talking about deer and all that kind of stuff. Thankfully, with our livestock, our live water troughs that we have, we're in great shape. They've maintained. The deer look pretty good. We'll get into that more, but the real concern for us became, oh my God, where do dove hunting, well, it was a concern, but then we were excited because we've always talked about our frac tank. It's a tank that we've got on Rancho Bandito that it used to be an old fracking tank. Okay, so they put a liner in there, and it's got a 75 horsepower pump connected to it, and it's probably 2 acres. And the great thing about this tank is that it's real flat. Okay, so it doesn't have real high sloping edges. It's an absolute dove mecca, and anybody who's hunted there can certainly tell you that. So here we are. coming into June, and I went there and I looked at and I'm like, oh my God, we have like a puddle. We need, so anyways, we actually filled it up. We ran a generator and filled that son of a gun up. Best thing we ever could have done. And of course, I'm not going to toot my own horn on this one, but by virtue of the fact that it just did not rain at all, we had dove coming in there, day after day after day, and they're still coming in there. So really all this rain that we've had lately, which has only been a couple of inches, which, hey, listen, I'm happy to have, has kind of added that tank, and it's at the perfect level. It may be a little fuller than we like, but nonetheless, the ground is just so damn dry that anything that hits, if it does pool, it just soaks right in. And that's what happens when you don't get any substantial rainfall, in 5 months.
Right.
So,
well,
I think the key to success this season, and I've heard a lot of outfitters are taking less people, because a lot of the outfitters, they're really successful over sunflower fields. And so the outfitters that you're going with that just have wild natural sunflowers, a lot of them burned up. And that's crazy, because the damn sunflower, they could put sunflowers on Mars, and they would do really well.
Well, on the sun, right?
Right. Yes. Very good. Yeah, it's a lot of sun, but but even this summer was too tough for them. So I've heard a lot of heard a lot of outfitters are cutting back on the number of hunters they have, and they're exploring other areas. Like, for example, who's got water. So I think this year in the state of Texas, if you've got water to hunt over, I think you're going to be in pretty great shape, which is going to be interesting. Of course, that being said, now that the food supply has kind of dwindled a little bit, whoever's got, if you do have a sunflower crop, or if you're hunting a field that's been hunting a field that had some sort of cereal grain in there, left over from the summer, which I can't even imagine anything like that in the state of Texas unless it was on irrigation. So nothing in this area would be a really, really awesome place to hunt. So if you find food, if you can find water, I think you're going to be in great shape. That being said, for those of you who don't do a lot of dove hunting traditionally, maybe because you've got these massive sunflower fields, out near your property, and you just don't think it's worth your time, but you've got a couple of tanks, man, post up in the shade, grab a chair, post up in the shade, charge your phone, listen to some music, smoke a cigar, have a couple of beers, 50 or 20, whatever it may be, and shoot some birds, man. There's nothing better, in my opinion.
Yeah, it can be fun. I'll be curious to see, this weekend if it if it rains or not. But if it doesn't rain,
right,
see how your theory plays out.
Yep. Well, and that's the other problem, is that in my experience, when it rains, they just do not fly, and it kills me. But
I wouldn't want to either. I don't think, if I was a bird.
Right. Well, unless you're a duck,
I might. Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah,
I was just thinking about the aerodynamics, but
Well, right. Well, dove are real fluffy. They don't have. And they just, man, they don't like it. So it is supposed to rain this week, and as my co-host just said, we are going to Rancho Bandito. So hopefully we'll have a lot to report. The one thing is for sure, the one thing that we will kill a lot of is brain cells, cold beer cans, cigars, but that's just part of it.
Yeah,
we're
kill the brain cells and get the mouth cancer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So talk about real quick what you think the deer are looking like now because of all the drought.
Yeah. We've, in the history of doing this, we've always talked about excuse me, I got the ragweed allergies, at least I hope that's what it is.
We'll pretend like it is until Tuesday.
Yeah. I can't taste anything. That's interesting. No. So yeah, we've always talked about, the effects of the dreaded drought and what the implications it has on all wild animals, and that's the thing. It's not just the deer, it's the coyotes and it's the turkeys. I mean, it's everything. But the beauty of what we can do in the state, by that I mean supplemental feeding, okay, and the fact that we do have and the fact that cattle are really the number one agricultural livestock species out there. You got to have water, so again, what we were really lacking in the state this year, by virtue of the fact that we didn't have a lot of rainfall, is a lot of that natural forage, okay. And because of that, they were, if you have the supplemental feeding, they were all over it. They're absolutely all over it. And I dare I say that in some parts of the state, that supplemental feeding may have become all they had, which of course is really scary. So I think that this year, I can tell you from Rancho Bandito's standpoint, the body sizes look very similar to last year. Maybe a little thinner. And I can honestly say that, like, I've looked at some of the same deer and yeah, maybe a little thinner, especially on the older ones. Okay. But their racks are just as impressive. They really are. And if you go to our social media, you can see some of the pictures that I put up there. We've got some real bruisers. And again, it's funny, look where we're getting the pictures. It's all by supplemental feed.
Right.
But you cannot, the whole point of that is you cannot discount the importance of natural browse. You just can't. And the fact of the matter is we just didn't have a lot of it. So, for you folks that are hunting, smaller acreage with a low fence, again, I hope you had your water going. I hope you had your supplemental feeding program going, because those deer, they're going to travel. They're going to find water, and they're going to find that supplemental feeding. That being said, these game fenced operations, they really had to be on their toes too, especially these places that, in order to make it go, in order to make that. To make the place profitable, they've got to put X amount of animals on there so they can have X amount of hunters killing those animals at said price, Mm-hmm. So I have heard of a couple of places that, a couple of places, especially in the Chalk Mountain area, which is near Glen Rose, actually caught fire. Had to cut the fences, and that's you're donezo. The neighbors are like, yes, sir. But I have heard
until it spreads to their
exactly.
their property.
Yeah. But I have heard some game fence places that just ran out of natural browse, so they had to start, kind of popping the exotics.
They got rocks.
Yeah. And then that's really the problem, is that, and even with the low fence operation, you've got these guys, these ranchers out there, they got these cows here, and they got if you're on a lease, you've got the hunting income, and then you've got the cattle income. But with as dry as it is, okay, and if there's no forage, they're having to buy hay, and they're having to buy cake and all that kind of stuff. It becomes a scenario where they can't afford it, and if they're destroying their rangeland. Mm-hmm. So they destroy their rangelands. So now you got weeds coming up, which is okay for the deer, but they can't put cattle on there, and it really becomes a mess. I think the best thing, I hope, for the state is this. We of course, the past couple of weeks here in August, which is, it's funny, it's normally the most brutal time of year. It's been in the 90s, and we've had lots of rain. I really hope that, and it looks like so far after a pretty damn good start, that the state gets replenished with rain, and those rangelands, Rancho Bandito included, those rangelands improve, because they were really, really chewed to the ground.
Mm-hmm. Man, talk about it like a double whammy. At the same time, we're hitting this drought, so makes it even more important to spend money on supplemental feeding. Absolutely. At the same time as all the prices of everything is going through the roof.
I know.
It's like talk about perfect timing in a bad.
No, it is. It's horrible. And it's so frustrating, and God have mercy, that's a whole nother bag of worms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to see the math, and to see the statistics really about, okay, who's, because everybody, I don't know. I feel like some people say, oh, well, when this political thing came into effect, it really didn't affect me. Well, listen, everybody goes to the damn grocery store. Everybody knows that, a sack of cheese didn't used to cost $7. Now it does. So everybody now is affected by that. And I would be curious to see how many hunters out there, they're that excess income they had to do things like deer hunting and feed deer, how that was affected. Because you're right, that's a horrible double whammy.
Yeah. Do you feed your family or do you feed your deer? I guess some people
right. And naturally
deer,
you feed your deer. I mean, that's it.
What about the acorn crop out at Rancho Bandito this year?
It's a great question. Unfortunately, and this gives me a bit now.
The last several years have been pretty abundant, more or less.
The year before last was the most incredible acorn crop we ever had. Really, actually, in the state of Texas, it was bananas. This year, it's pretty sad. I've been to Rancho Bandito honestly, maybe 3 times this summer, and I it's a sin. But again, we moved, and I had that thing in Kenya. I was built that hospital with my bare hands.
Right.
Long
cured AIDS, all that stuff.
Right. With money,
right.
It's like they do on South Park. But I have actually not seen the acorn crop, but I can tell you this: I have some lovely red oaks in my backyard right now, and oh my God. I mean, the wind blows. I'm like, they're everywhere.
Pew, 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 pew.
It's crazy. And of course, the red oak is gorgeous, beautiful tree, right above my blankety blank pool, which my pool looks like a pair of binoculars. I can't wait for you to see it. We first saw it was like binoculars, and my dad was like, "Oh my God, it really does." And then one of our friend's sons was like, "Look, it's a game controller." I'm like,
"Game controller."
Yeah, I'm like, nerd.
Sign of the times, right there.
Oh, big time. Big time. I tell you, going back to the drought, something that is going to interest me is how this drought is going to affect the quail numbers, and how it's going to affect the turkey numbers. Now, thankfully, the turkeys, their poults, their nests, they have those before it gets really, really hot. But it is going to be interesting to see how the turkey crop is, because I've preached this for years, is if you've really only got one water source, okay, you've got all the animals going to said water source. Well, where are the predators going to be? Bobcats are going to be there, mountain lions, Bigfoots, RoboCop, Predator, whatever. They're all going to be there. So I will be curious to see how the poult crop, turkey crop is. With that being said, the fawn crop too. The fawns make their living, survival that is, off of being able to hide and lush forage. And there wasn't none of that around this year. So, it's very, very interesting. One animal that did not have a bad year, who has had a very rough couple of years, have been ducks. And of course, this is something near and dear to my heart. Those stupid little bastards that I wake up at X amount in the morning for and go out there and freeze and don't shoot me of. Last year was the worst duck season we ever had. It was awful, and it was awful everywhere. And that was because the prairie pothole region of the United States and Canada is basically the home of virtually all puddle ducks and a lot of diver ducks as well. So mallards, gadwalls, teal, you name it. In 2019, before this year's last time I did a survey, so that was kind of the baseline. They didn't do it in 20 because of COVID. They didn't do it in 21, I guess, because of COVID as well. So this is the first year they've done it, and the numbers just came out, and I posted it. overall, duck numbers are actually down. And in a couple of species, which is a little surprising, the green-winged teal was down like 35%, which that's kind of nuts because the blue-winged teal is actually up like 40%.
Wow.
And what's crazy is that the blue-winged teal has a significant longer trip. Blue-winged teal start coming down right now, and they actually have been coming down. We saw some at Rancho Bandito. Dad didn't. Forgot to tell me until last night. Hashtag angry. They go all the way to freaking South America. Okay. And then all the way back up to Canada. And their population's doing better than the green-winged teal, who come down to basically Texas and Mexico. And anyway, I don't know if they have...
the South America might have been good for them. I mean, it might have been a lot better down there.
Very true. Very true. Mallards are actually down, which is kind of crazy. Gadwall and widgeons are down, all that kind of stuff. So what's important, I said, when we started talking about this, okay, is that there's one species is doing better. Okay, well, these numbers sound really, really horrible, right? Well, and in reality, they are. The silver lining of this whole thing is that the past couple of years have just been, again, terrible droughts up there in that area. This summer was incredible. In fact, there was really, and you can go, I posted on our social media stuff, the prairie pothole region of Canada and, South Dakota, North Dakota was all basically in the excellent habitat area, to where some of those ducks may have had two clutches. And so now, of course, biologists are just very excited. Now they're thinking, oh my God, well, I hope that those younger ducks who were just hatched a couple of weeks ago, get their flight feathers in so they can make the trip south. So the point being is that I think when you start just the new survey numbers this time next year should be significantly better, because we're gonna have a lot more ducks.
Yeah.
The other thing is that we're gonna should have a lot more ducks in your decoy spreads, which is really happy for me. I averaged about 50. Last year I got 35, and I think I lied on 2 of those. So, so I am really hoping that it's. I'm really hoping it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be excited to see throughout the rest of the year on all these animals. Of course,
yep.
I'm sure the pigs are still fine. They'll just they have like a built-in feeding mechanism where they'll just go out there, have some piglets and then eat them if they had to.
Oh yeah, no, I was like, well, sorry, we had a great time.
They make their own food.
Well, it's funny. I'd like to hear from people who were hunting hogs this summer, because again, like the 2 times that we went out, we went to water where there was water and didn't have any luck. But I mean, that was talking to our ranch hand. He was like, oh yeah, every morning they're right there. I shoot at them every time, but they're right there routinely because there's no water. So I'd be curious to see if people's hog kills went up in the summer because they're right there. I don't know.
Right, or even not just through the deer season or anything to see we see more of them or not. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you again, natural forage is definitely starting to come back. The fall, the acorns will be on the way. The fall forbs will be coming up and whatnot. But I still think it's going to be a little slower, fall green up, just because the rains just now things are hopefully kind of somewhat getting back to normal. So I think the corn feeder activity will be pretty nuts. Which is going to be great for us to hunt over corn feeders, so you pick out that select deer and put it down. One of the things that a lot of people ask us, we talk about the feeding program that we've got, and that typically we stop feeding protein in August, right? And we do that because the fawns are weaned and the bucks are shedding their velvet. Okay. Well, because this is the exception year that I've always talked about, that I hope we never have, and here it is, because it was so dry and so this and so that. we're actually going to keep the protein feeders going until probably about October 1st. And the only reason why we're saying October 1st and not just completely year round is the fact that we've gotten 3 or 4 inches of rain the past couple of weeks, and the next couple of weeks look pretty wet.
Right. See what happens. Basically.
Yeah. So,
supplemental feeding.
Supplemental feeding, man. It's the only way to. It's saving a lot of people. I can't imagine the feed bills for a lot of these big ranches have got like elk and stuff.
Oh, good God. Good God. Yeah.
Because ours is astronomical and we don't have elk yet.
Well, maybe one day, Feed Bandit Ranch will have a feed bill like that.
Definitely. I'm working on it.
Awesome. What do you say about ending this one here and then saving the recap of your big trip for the next one?
Yes. Yeah. We'll give everybody a little preview so they make sure they tune in. So I had the privilege of going back to Argentina. It was supposed to be 2 years ago. We had it planned out. My dad was bringing some of his good friends, and their kids were bringing some of their friends. And I had the privilege of taking 2 of my friends to come along with me. So it was, anyways, we're trying to go back in 2020. COVID hit, obviously destroyed everything. So finally we did that trip. It was in August. It was great. It was with Miles and Miles Outfitters. And so we'll do a recap of the actual hunt, because it was a little different than when you and I went on. And then we're really going to talk almost kind of in depth about what we did, how you book it and all that kind of stuff, because things have changed. Like, you can't go from Santiago to Cordoba. There is no flight anymore.
Okay.
The Chileans pulled out, which is really kind of funny because all the Argentines they totally rag on the Chileans. Like a bunch of junglist mountain people. I'm like, whoa, easy, pal. Can't say that, Oh God, it's so funny. Anyway, but yeah, no, we'll talk about that and hopefully recap a good, bloody, successful opening or week 1 of Texas high school football, college football, and Dove season. It's finally here.
And hopefully a Tech victory.
We'll listen. Now let's just.
I don't even know where Murray State is.
Let's just put it this way. Well, we have this new coach we have. McGuire he's amazing. So if we lose to Murray State, then there will be no more podcast permanently.
It'd be a bad omen.
Yeah, big time.
All right, well, cool.
All right,
that was fun. Good to be back.
Yeah.
4 months.
Absolutely.
4 months later, but we're here.
Yep.
It's a labor of love, a passion project, whatever you want to call it.
It is.
We thank you for everyone who stuck around and are listening to this. We'll be doing more. We're not promising a regular release schedule, but we'll try.
Yep. No,
but we do have some things cooking that we've been talking about.
Yes.
So
yes.
hopefully we'll make a little progress this fall on some of that stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So again, thanks everyone for listening. Anything you want to say on the goodbye?
That's it, folks. We'll say we normally say, support your local feed store. Last year we were saying they really need your help. 2020, they really need your help. They really need your help now too. Inflation hits small town Texas, small town USA, just like it hits the big towns as well. So let's get out there and support those little local farm and feed shops, please.
Sounds good. Thank you all. Thanks for listening to the Feed Bandit podcast. If you like what we discuss on the show, be sure to sign up to our email list to get even more killer hunting ideas, tips, tricks, and exclusive deals on innovative hunting gear and services delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up over at feedbandit.com or simply by texting the word bandit to 33777. See you on the next one, and remember, support your local feed store.